Why did Sacha Baron Cohen revive Borat after he'd retired the character? How did they manage to pull off the shocking Rudy Giuliani interview? And why did Sacha have to wear a bulletproof vest for one specific scene? Hi, I'm Dylan, and you're watching OSSA Movies. Why did Borat return? While Sacha is known for his characters such as Ali G, Bruno, and Borat, it becomes difficult to portray them after they become popular. In fact, after the first Borat film, Sacha said he'd be retiring the character for good because he'd become too well known and could be easily detected. However, he was inspired by the political landscape in the United States to bring the character out of retirement while also getting laughs out of the audience. This time though, Sacha and the filmmakers needed to be smart in how they got their footage. Because the Borat character was too well known by the public, the production was filmed in secrecy, and Sacha relied on clever disguises more often than not. However, the ace up his sleeve was actress Maria Bakalova, who played Borat's daughter, Tutar. Since she was relatively unknown in the United States, she led from the front and became the face of the movie for the bigger scenes. It definitely worked because it allowed Sacha time to lurk in the background while she tricked the unknowing participants of this mockumentary. If it wasn't for her, it's unlikely that the filmmakers would have gotten all the footage that they did. The only question is, what'll happen if they decide to film Borat 3? Dating advice from an Instagram influencer. Instagram influencer and sugar baby Macy Chanel appears in Borat's subsequent movie film, and her scene left more than a few jaws on the floor as she provides some interesting dating advice to Tutar. There's a bit of debate on how this scene actually came about though, and if it was actually legitimate. Macy insists that she was playing a role the whole time and she thought she was filming for a Netflix series. Speaking to IndieWire, she said, "I was misled into playing a role and being cast as someone that does not reflect who I am. I have enjoyed a successful modeling and acting career where I can play any role given. In this case, and probably many others, I did not read the fine print." Well, it seems like Macy has softened in her stance towards the movie since then because she's been posting about it quite a bit on her Instagram account, calling it hilarious. However, she still insists that she stayed in character while filming, and it's not really her point of view. Truth be told, only Macy and the filmmakers know what was agreed upon, so the legitimacy of this shocking scene is still up in the air. Do you think it was real or entirely staged? Interrupting the vice president. Inadvertently, US Vice President Mike Pence plays a major role in Borat 2, and he even makes an appearance in it, even if he probably never agreed to. As you've all seen by now, Sacha disguised himself as President Donald Trump and interrupted the vice president's speech at the Conservative Political Action Conference in Maryland. Considering all the security and Secret Service agents present, this was literally like breaking into Fort Knox. So how did Sacha actually manage to pull this off without any consequences? He told the New York Times that he wore a fat suit and was already in makeup before he entered the venue. When he went past security and the metal detector beeped, Sacha improvised and said it was his defibrillator. Then he hid out in the bathroom for 5 hours before he finally broke into the convention center and caught everyone's attention with his stunt. Security escorted him out, but the police department decided not to press charges against him. While the event made news headlines at the time, it wasn't until the trailer for Borat 2 was released that everyone found out that it was Sacha behind it. It was a risky prank, and the filmmakers must have been extremely nervous while filming it. All the faxes to Kazakhstan. In the movie, the way that Borat communicates with the premier of Kazakhstan is by sending him faxes that are almost like texts. He does this by using a store called PMS Center, where the owner, Alan Smith, sends the messages for Borat and reads him the messages from the premier. Amazingly, Alan is no actor, but actually the real owner of the store. In an interview with Showbiz 411, Alan said he didn't recognize Borat and that he was actually paid for all the faxes sent to a Russian number. He said, "They were here from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. all day. They told me it was a training video for Russians, and that it would be shown on public television in either Georgia or Florida." Alan only found out that it was a prank after a friend of his saw the store in the trailer for Borat 2 and let him know about it. And he was particularly pleased to hear that he was portrayed as a patient and friendly person in the film. It's true though, since Alan just comes across as a really nice guy. And we hope that Sacha has sent him a special thank you for being a real gentleman, even though he was fooled. The Cotillion Ball. Naturally, part of Sacha's secret to getting side-splitting reactions is to dupe the participants, and dupe them he did in a Georgia Cotillion ball scene. Both him and Maria presented themselves as different characters and performed a dance performance that had everyone else reeling. As it turns out, the audience's reactions were very real and completely unplanned. Will Davis, one of the people in the scene, said he and his daughter Abby had no clue they were being pranked. He told Inside Edition that they'd been recruited under the guise that this was a film about cotillion balls that followed a European father and daughter as they learnt about the American custom. However, most of the audience was left shaken and horrified by the moonblood dance that Borat and Tutar performed in the middle of the dance floor and didn't know where to hide their heads.
Just kind of like, oh my goodness, you know, let's go. Can we leave now?
That being said, Will laughs at the fact that Borat got him good and says he'll definitely watch the movie. Though we wonder if all the other participants are laughing it off and feeling just as good-natured about the prank as Will is. Living undercover. One of the weirdest scenes in the film sees Borat move in with two conspiracy theorists, Jerry and Jim, during lockdown. While many people questioned if this was entirely scripted and pre-planned, Sacha says it wasn't. In fact, he told the New York Times that it was one of the most difficult things he's done. He said, "The hardest thing I had to do was, I lived in character for 5 days in this lockdown house. I was waking up, having breakfast, lunch, dinner, going to sleep as Borat when I lived in a house with these two conspiracy theorists. You can't have a moment out of character." Moving in with two unknown people could easily turn very dangerous, especially if they'd uncovered who Borat really was and what he was doing. But Sacha says that Jerry and Jim were actually good people. After all, who opens up their home to a complete stranger during a pandemic? It just goes to show how people can surprise you, and kindness exists in places you might never have expected in the first place. Still, we don't know if we'd be brave enough to live in someone else's house in disguise for 5 days. The Rudy Giuliani interview. Undoubtedly, the biggest talking point of the movie is the interview with Rudy Giuliani. It created huge controversy and has become probably the most iconic scene to date. Naturally, Giuliani was lured into the interview under fake premises, presuming that Tutar was a real journalist and they'd be discussing politics. However, things appeared to take a rather different turn after the interview concluded. Back in July, Giuliani claimed to have called the police after Sacha burst into the room, believing it was a shakeup and that he hadn't recognized the comedian initially. However, after the video made its way onto the internet, Giuliani posted the following on his Twitter account. "The Borat video is a complete fabrication. I was tucking in my shirt after taking off the recording equipment. At no time during, before, or after the interview was I ever inappropriate. If Sacha Baron Cohen implies otherwise, he is a stone-cold liar." Speaking to the press, Sacha insisted that people need to watch the scene for themselves and make up their own mind about the incident.
Built a hideaway that I was hiding in during the entire scene. So I was monitoring it by text, but you know, it's my responsibility as a producer as well to ensure that the lead actor is looked after.
Much like the Conservative Political Action Conference, Sacha and Maria once again proved to be the masters of disguise and fooled everyone into believing what they were up to was real. The controversial gun rally. While Sacha is known to get the laughs, he also puts his life in danger numerous times. One of the craziest pranks in Borat 2 was his interruption of the March for Our Rights pro-gun rally in Olympia, Washington. Disguised as a musician, he performed offensive songs and got the crowd to sing along to them. The aftermath, though, wasn't seen in the film. As it turns out, things got ugly, and the organizers stormed the stage, forcing Sacha to flee in a getaway car. In an article for Time magazine, he wrote, "An angry crowd blocked our way and started pounding on the vehicle with their fists. Under my overalls, I was wearing a bulletproof vest, but it felt inadequate with some people outside toting semi-automatic weapons. When someone ripped open the door to drag me out, I used my entire body weight to pull the door back shut."
Let's go. Go, go, go.
Are we locked?
The doors are locked?
Yes,
Hold it.
While that might have scared anyone out of ever going back, Sacha did the opposite. He disguised himself as a photojournalist and went back the same day. Although none of that footage made the final cut of the film. Still, you have to give him credit where credit is due because Sacha put his body on the line for comedy. It could have turned pretty bad for him, but he managed to make an escape in the nick of time. Borat's subsequent movie film lived up to the promise of being equally hilarious and controversial. As expected, no punches were pulled and Sacha tackled a variety of topics that most people wouldn't be brave enough to even mention. At the same time, it's entirely possible that this could be the last ride for Borat, and if it turns out to be, what a way to go out. But now it's time to hear from you. How many shocking scenes do you think were completely real, or were they mostly pre-planned? And will Sacha actually revive Borat again in the near future? Thanks for watching, and don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments section down below. And while you're at it, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for some awesome videos.